If you're looking to move away from the camera on your phone and make your first camera purchase, this is the camera that I'm recommending. It captures high quality photos and video. It works as a webcam, it's reasonably priced, and it's easy to learn. But it's also something you can grow into. Let's take a closer look. When I say real camera, that's actually the words that I hear from many of you. I think the camera on your phone is a real camera, but most people think that a camera body that has an interchangeable lens, this type of a camera is a real camera. And certainly upgrading from the camera on your phone to a camera like this can be a very big step. This camera is fantastic because it's so easy to use right out of the box. You can grow into it. I'm going to go over all those details here in a moment. And also I'm going to suggest just some initial accessories that you might want to consider if you do want to make your first camera purchase. When I talk about a camera being reasonably priced, there are a couple of different things that I'm looking at. First is the price of the camera itself, and then also what value is the camera bringing in terms of functionality and quality. And then finally, for the sake of this video, we're also looking at ease of use. So I am recommending the Fujifilm X-M5 today. I am going to cover a couple of different cameras and manufacturers just to give you perspective when it comes to that price versus value comparison. The Fujifilm X-M5 is an APS-C camera with a body. It's coming in at about $900. There are plenty of lens options in the $200 to $300 range, and this 16mm lens gives you a 24mm equivalent focal length. It's an f1.2, and this lens cost me about $300 brand new. You'll also want to purchase an SD card to capture your photos and video. I recommend a 128GB SD card that comes in at about $75. And although this camera does have an onboard microphone, it's really not that great, so I do recommend picking up an external microphone. This is a small size shotgun microphone that's going to run about $100. So with this setup, you're going to run it at about $1,400. With the Fuji camera system, it's an X mount system, and Fuji allows for third-party lens manufacturers to make lenses for this camera. And so that's why in a lot of cases, you can find lenses at around that $200 to $300 mark, and of course up from there. Now let's take a look at the Sony camera system. Another camera that I really love is the Sony a6700, but that body alone is going to cost you $1,500, and Sony does allow third-party manufacturers to make their lenses, so you can find some affordable lenses out there, but the body is already going to push you past what you've spent with the X-M5. Canon does have an APS-C camera with an RF mount. That's their newer mounting system. Unfortunately, Canon has not opened up that mount to third-party manufacturers, so the lenses tend to be a little more expensive, and because Canon is the only manufacturer of those lenses, there really aren't as many lens options available. So if you take all of those things into consideration, when you're just looking at price and value, that's the first reason why I'm recommending the Fuji X-M5. Usability is where the X-M5 really stands out. To shoot video, turn the dial to vlog mode, and if I select the menu on the touch screen on the lower right side of the screen, all of your settings are going to appear on the screen. This is a flip out screen. So if I'm in front of the camera like this in vlogging, then I can touch and see all the settings right there on the screen in front of me. And in turn, if I am in the back of the camera and shooting someone else, I'm going to have those same menu options on the screen. And it's a touch screen, so all you have to do is select whatever setting you want and make adjustments very easily. There are a number of settings here, a couple that I want to highlight. You do want to make sure that autofocus is on the upper right-hand side, and you can turn on face and eye detection. I like the eye auto detection because there's going to be a square around your eye, and you can see very quickly whether or not the square is there. If it's there, it means you're in focus. If it's not there, it means that something has gone awry. Reminder, this is a touch screen, so not only does it work for menu items, but if you want to focus on a specific subject in the frame, all you have to do is select whatever it is that you want to be in focus on the screen, and the camera will focus right in on that object. Back to the camera settings on the rear of the camera, on the lower left, you can make your background blurry if you'd like. You can also turn product priority mode off or on. If you turn this on, what the camera is going to do is it's going to prioritize a product over a person. So if you've ever seen a product review online, you see somebody put their hand above and then place whatever the product is in front of them. That's kind of a hack to make sure that the camera is focusing in on the product and not the person. But if you turn this on, then this camera will prioritize the product. And then there's the short movie mode setting. So the settings here are 15, 30, 60, and off. Now, what that means is if you select 60, the camera is only going to record for 60 seconds, and then it's going to stop recording right at 60 seconds. And you do see a timer right on the screen while you're recording. The other thing you'll notice, there are like gray boxes on the left and right with a clear stripe right down the middle of the screen. What this is doing for you is it's framing vertical video for you. So this camera, you don't have to turn the camera to shoot vertically. You can actually shoot it horizontally as well. This is super helpful if you're shooting both landscape and vertical content at the same time. Now, those gray areas only appear on the screen. They don't appear in your footage. Again, these are just markers or guidelines for you to use when you're framing up your shot. If I turn the short movie mode off, this allows you to record for however long you want, but you still have access to this on-screen menu. Now remember, we are taking advantage of this on-screen menu because we don't want to dive into the menu system at this time. And when you're ready to start recording, then you're just going to select the record button and you're ready to go. There's also another very small button on the top of the camera. It's labeled with a Q. That's your quick menu. This menu contains all of the settings that you're going to want to learn as you get more familiar with this camera. But for now, we can go ahead and leave this in manual mode. Because we are shooting in 23.98 frames per second, your shutter angle should always be about 2 times that of whatever frames per second you're shooting in. Moving up here, you can see the shutter angle is at 50, so we'll leave that. We are shooting in HD 16:9. That's more than appropriate. I recommend shooting in HD until you get used to capturing footage with this camera. Can shoot up to 6.5K, but those file sizes are very large in size. You're going to be fine shooting in HD to start, and then as you get used to handling video files, then you can switch those settings to 4K or even 6.5K in the future. We're going to keep the white balance in auto, and then also keep ISO at auto. And then on the lower left side, this is your film simulation. Personally, I like to use the film simulation dial that's on top of the camera, but you can adjust the look and feel of your footage right here in the menu. That's all you need to get started shooting video with the X-M5. Fuji cameras are well known for allowing you to be creative. So you can apply specific creative looks to your footage, both in video and photos. Going back to the top of the camera, this is the film dial. There are a number of different film look options available to you. You can see that there are all different types of options to choose from. So feel free to experiment here. You can dive deeper into these settings. I'm not going to cover that today. Fuji also has something called recipes where you can go and you can either purchase or obtain recipes from other people to give you specific looks. This is fun because it's a cheat code. If you have a specific type of branding or look and feel that you want to apply to your footage or your photos, you can do that in camera. So in that way, when you export your footage, it's already baked into the footage. All you have to do is edit and wrap up. You don't have to do any extra color grading or anything like that. Since we're on the topic of video, there is one other thing I want to mention, and that is that you can use this camera as a webcam. So if you attach the microphone to the top of the camera, and the way that you attach this is on the back of the camera. I really like that Fuji placed the microphone jack here on the back, because if you open the screen, then the cable isn't going to get in the way of you moving the screen. And then from there, you're going to use a USB-C cable and attach the camera to your computer. When you open up your virtual networking software or whatever you're using for your meetings like Zoom or Google Meet, you're going to select the X-M5 as both your camera option and your audio option. From here, you will need some sort of a tripod if you don't already have one. I really like this tabletop tripod from Benro. It's nice and tall, so then that way I can place my camera behind my laptop and Just keep in mind that while you're on that call, you just want to look at the lens, but this upgrades your virtual conference calls right away. You look great, you sound great, and people are definitely going to notice. The X-M5 is a fantastic hybrid camera. It also captures high quality photos. And of course, there are a ton of settings under of the photo options on this camera, but what I typically recommend for beginners is to start in aperture priority. To do this, you're going to turn your dial to A. So what you're telling the camera is that you want to have full control over the aperture, and then the camera will take care of shutter angle and ISO from there. And it'll just auto adjust as you make adjustments to the aperture. The lower the aperture number, this lens can go down to a 1.2, the blurrier your background's going to be. And then the higher your aperture, the less blurry your background's going to be. And of course, this is oversimplifying it, but if you're indoors or in low light settings, you also want to have a lower aperture. And then if you're outside in the sunshine, you're going to want to turn that aperture up higher. And if you look at the front of the X-M5 camera, you're going to notice that there is a wheel up here. Well, it also acts as a button. So if you select this as a button, you'll see that you can make adjustments here to your ISO and your aperture. So all you have to do is select whatever one you want. We're in aperture priority, so I'm just going to set the aperture where I want it, and I'm going to leave the shutter angle and the ISO in auto mode on the camera and just let the camera do the work for me. This is what footage out of my iPhone 16 Pro looks like, and I do have it in cinematic mode, so you can kind of see what a blurry background looks like out of the iPhone, shooting in 24 frames per second in 4K. This is what footage out of the X-M5 looks like. You are also hearing an audio sample of what that shotgun mic sounds like that's attached to the camera. And we are getting a blurry background. So this is a reason why I recommend the Shure 16mm f1.2. That 16mm is equivalent to 24 millimeters on a full frame camera. It's a great versatile focal length. And because this lens steps all the way down to f1.2, that's how you can get that blurry background that I know so many of you enjoy. And for comparisons, so that you can hear the difference between the audio samples, this is what the audio sounds like when I am using the onboard microphone only. Apart from the items I've covered so far, there's plenty of room to grow with this camera. I mean, we haven't even looked at the menu system yet. I am going to be putting a video together shortly, and I'll do a deep dive and go into all of those settings for all of you who are interested. And then also some other highlights to this camera. It does shoot up to 6.5K. That's nice high quality footage. You can shoot in open gate, slow motion. You can also shoot in log, and if for some reason you want to shoot with anamorphic lenses at some point, it can support that too. If you have any questions about this camera, leave them in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer. I am going to be putting a more detailed video together about the menu system in this camera. So if you want to learn more about all of the options that are available, be sure to subscribe, give this video a thumbs up. Thanks as always for tuning in, and I'll see you again in the next video.